Digital communications are nothing new. However, over the past 10 years, we've come to rely on them more not only for work, but also for leisure and everyday activities as well. Today, a large part of the sharing and discussing of ideas is done either through a chat window, a message board, or the comment section on a video. And a growing trend that can be observed is the amount of general animosity and aggression that is showcased in the comments that are left. Now, I've been on the internet for a while, and I know it can be a very inhospitable place. But lately, it's gotten a lot more visceral and personal. And I think a key contributor to this is the fact that we aren't using digital communications correctly. And that is making people in general a lot more anxious, intolerant, and angry. To be clear, I'm not a psychologist nor a licensed therapist. My experience and observations come from working and coordinating with teams of people from all around the world in various different settings. This means that many of the statements I make will be framed from a workplace perspective, but they can be easily transferred into an everyday life setting as well. So, we use digital means to send out messages now more than ever before. How can we be doing that incorrectly? The first thing we need to look at is the digital part of digital communications. When we say something is the digital equivalent of a service or product, it's understood that what changes is the way we interact with that product or service, not its core purpose. A digital storefront, for example, is still a place to browse products. The change is in how you, the visitor, interact with it. When we have an in-person dialogue, there are a lot of factors at play beyond the words being exchanged. There are nonverbal cues, voice tone, delivery, body posture, and hand gestures that give us crucial hints about what the other person is feeling or how they are reacting to our message. These factors are often overlooked when communicating digitally. We lose the nonverbal cues if cameras are off, and even if they're on, connection quality impacts the tone and cadence of our words. On chat applications, context may be completely lost or misunderstood depending on when the other person reads the message. Here's the problem. When we move our communications into the digital realm, we don't treat them any differently than from a regular in-person chat. We expect the words alone to carry the full meaning, and we ignore the shortcomings of the medium. It's important to remember, our focus here is dialogue, not broadcasting, like streaming and blogging. These factors by themselves start painting a picture of why I think digital communications are not being used correctly. But can botched communications really make us so anxious and angry? Quick personal experience. I've got 2 kids at home with me. Back when they started speaking, a constant source of frustration for them came from not being able to deliver their messages accurately. They had an idea, but lacked the vocabulary to communicate it. In a way, this is also what happens when communicating digitally. We're unable to use all the nonverbal cues at our disposal to deliver a message and then get an answer. What goes beyond frustration and into actual anxiety for adults is the fact that if a message is misunderstood by the receiving party, which is very much beyond our control, we are immediately beset by consequences. Fear and anxiety derived from being unable to communicate freely have heavy consequences both at work and in our daily lives. At work, this fear becomes a drain on the bottom line. When employees are afraid to speak up, it leads to what experts call employee silence. People stop sharing ideas out of a heightened sense of risk, which in turn impacts core business functions. It makes decision-making slow and risk-averse. It drains focus and hits productivity hard. It stops team cohesion, stifles innovation, and ultimately leads to employee burnout and withdrawal. In our personal lives, the same issue leaves us feeling isolated. When we see digital rules and policies that are vague or confusing, it creates something called the chilling effect. This means we start to censor ourselves, choosing silence because we're afraid of being misinterpreted, rejected by our peers, or losing our jobs as a consequence of said misinterpretations. This constant self-censoring and fear is exhausting. It increases anxiety and pushes people towards shallower online connections to compensate for a lack of genuine deep relationships, leading to feelings of digital loneliness. This opens up a completely different rabbit hole that will be addressed at a later point. But for the time being, let's sum up what I've put forth so far. I believe we're doing digital communications wrong because we mostly don't differentiate them from in-person communications, and we expect our words alone to carry the full meaning of our message. When this fails, we find ourselves in a state that contributes to our daily frustration and anxiousness. Being able to communicate better isn't the final solution, but I believe it can contribute to a more positive mental state for ourselves by improving our ability to converse, collaborate, and discuss with others with a more positive outcome. I propose 3 concrete actions to tackle specific challenges present in our digital communications that can serve as a solid starting point for you and can then be tailored to your specific situation and needs. Clarifying. When I say digital communications, I'm referring to the exchanging of ideas between 2 or more parties. Number 1. Understand your sphere of influence. Knowing how much of a conversation you actually control will help you be more at ease with crafting and delivering your own messages. Number 2. Adjust your language to prevent misunderstandings. Make up for the shortcomings of digital conversation by using clear language that is harder to misinterpret or misrepresent. And number 3, redefine digital empathy. The main point here is to rediscover what empathy is and its core purpose, so we can transport it into a digital context to further enrich our communications. Each of these pillars will get its own follow-up video. So, if you find the topic of communications interesting, be sure to stay tuned and follow the channel to keep exploring this and other topics related to communications and design. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. Have an amazing day.